I'm just going to keep letting you sing. Good evening, everyone. We are back with another review for our Disney retrospective, 100 Years of Wonder. Sort of coming to the last final stretch of everything now, really. We're up to number 59 today with the, well, it didn't perform very well at the box office, but since then it has
didn't perform very well in my house either.
It has achieved a bit of a cultural phenomenon since that point. We are talking about Encanto. Now, this movie kind of messed me up with the numbering on this because when I watched this film a couple of days ago. I watched it over the weekend. You watched it literally, you got done with it about 10 minutes before we went live, I think. So it's very, very fresh in your mind. At the beginning, when you have the logos and you have Steamboat Willie and everything, it said Disney 60, and it was like the 60th Disney animated feature. And then I was doing the thumbnail for this video today, and I was like, the last one that we did was 58, and I checked my case and I was like, it definitely says 59. Look at the top of that. But again, it's the difference between the UK list and the US list. In the US, it is the 60th, but for us, it's the 59th one. So that's kind of like made me panic ever so slightly. But we are definitely talking about Encanto today.
Made me panic thinking I was watching the wrong one.
Yeah, it was like, was it like 7:30 or something, and you thought we might be watching the wrong one?
Yeah.
Thankfully, we weren't. We watched the correct one. We've got Carl in the comments says, "Evening, guys, and Happy New Year, Dale."
It's a Happy New Year. It's not a happy time. We started it with Encanto. It's not. Wait, did we? No, we didn't. Was it? Hang on. Was it the New Year on the last one?
Was it? No, it was Yeah, it was Christmas week, wasn't it? We did Raya and the Last Dragon. I've lost track of days, man. Yeah, it was the 31st.
That would have been 7 days ago, so it would have been New Year's Eve, wouldn't it? Hang on.
Yes, no, it was the 31st, wasn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, New Year's Eve, but did that happen?
I don't know, man. Days, whatever.
But either way, if we rang in the New Year with Ryan and Last Dragon, it's a Happy New Year. If we rang it with this, it's a bad time.
Yeah, it's not quite the year of the dragon, is it? With this one, it's yeah, well, that's kind of giving away our opinions on it, but we'll go into it now. Sort of first time watching this. This came out in the November, I think, didn't it? The November of 2021. And I did go and see this at the cinema. I keep forgetting when COVID actually was and lockdown and everything. I have a feeling it was before this point, because I mean, if it was during this point, I wouldn't have seen this at the cinema unless it was at one of those points where we were just coming out of a lockdown or whatever it was. It was a weird time and it was kind of a blip, and I've almost forgotten all of it. Anyway, I did go and see this at the cinema, and I wasn't particularly enamored with it. In fact, it isn't really one I liked at all. And I came out thinking, oh, well, the animation was very pretty, but nothing kind of like touched me or stayed with me or anything like that. None of the songs were particularly memorable to me. None of the characters or anything to do with the story. It was an experience that I watched for about an hour and a half. And then I left the cinema and went on with my life. And I never went back to it. So this was the second time that I watched it. And I really wanted to come into this with, you know, like a fresh pair of eyes, especially watching them all in sequence, which I've never done before, actually. This retrospective is the first time I've done that with all of the Disney animated classics. And especially with these reviews that we're doing, reading the behind the scenes, you kind of get a little bit more of an insight as to the inner workings of Disney as a company and sort of what led to the next project and whatever. So I wanted to come in with this with a fresh pair of eyes and really have a different perspective on it. And maybe I was a little bit too hard on it when I watched it 4 years ago. I have to say my opinions on it haven't changed. In fact, they've probably stayed exactly the same. I'm going to pass over to you now, Dale, on this one, because you watched this for the first time today. I tried to not talk to you too much about it. I think you probably got my opinions on it, on what I thought of it, but I wanted you to go in completely cold. So let us know your initial opinions on Encanto.
Terrible movie. Let's move on to the next one. Basically, it was shoddy. It felt like a Disney B movie. That's what it felt like. I mean, we all like a B movie every now and then, but it felt like a Disney B movie that was just like, why? You know, the animation was, like you said, it was nice animation, but I think that let it down because I think it just shone a light on how much of a B movie it was. Like in terms of a Disney movie, because Disney movies, like we said before, I think the first time we mentioned it was when The Wild was a Disney classic for some weird reason that no one will ever understand. Remember when it meant something to be a Disney classic, whereas this feels like, why is this Disney classic? It doesn't feel like a Disney movie. We mentioned it feels like a Pixar movie, but even then, Pixar's better than this. You know, I mean, I've never seen Cars. I've never seen.
Maybe not now. Maybe not
Yeah,
anymore. But
that's the thing. I've never seen a lot of the new ones, so maybe not anymore. But yeah, it didn't even feel up to scratch for that. The characters were boring. The music was, I don't even like musicals really. When you get like live action musicals and stuff, like when it's like you know, you get your Disney musicals or cartoon stuff, it feels warranted in that world. It's a kind of different kind of thing. But when you get, I don't say I hate all musicals, but you know what I mean. When you get a lot of musicals and they start singing about every event that they're doing, I'm like, okay, we get it. We don't need to sing about the car. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm not even referring to Grease right now, but you know what I mean? It's like we to me, musicals were never the biggest thing. And this felt like it was trying to be a live action musical where the songs went on too long. It wasn't like one of them where it was like, oh, they're doing a song that's like a minute long or whatever, or oh, this is quite fantasy. Like the choreography, and it felt like they were doing a live action choreography and they were adding CGI rather than an animated film like Beauty and the Beast, where the choreography might be, you know, amazing, but fantasy like, if that makes sense. Whereas like when you get realistic stuff and then they go, right, let's add a load of CGI to make it fantasy like, that's what this felt like. It felt like it was trying to be a live action movie that was trying to be an animated movie, if that makes sense.
it's very, very interesting you mentioned that. And I don't know if you've read about the film before we've gone live or if that was right off the cuff, because this was the first Disney animated feature that had choreographers employed and involved in the development of the project from start to finish.
Well, they shouldn't have fucking done it, should they? It was a terrible idea. It felt like a live action movie trying to be. It felt like it was trying to be a live action movie that was trying to be an animated movie. That's what it felt like. It was yeah. It was, a lot of it was boring. The songs didn't make sense. The songs happened and they were. I mean, I feel like what people felt like, you know, in 1985 when David Lee Roth left Van Halen and people got very annoyed. That's what I feel like with this movie. Like the anger is not leaving me. I do not like it. I mean, I love Sammy Hagar, but I'm just saying, in this, I feel like that it's I just don't like the movie. I think it's probably one of the worst. It's up there with Chicken Little.
Oh, those be some strong words right there. Oh God.
The thing is, the animation does. I mean, I know I said before that the animation being as good as it is a weak point, but at the same time, it makes it that bit better than Chicken Little because it's at least nice to look at. You know, it has a few things, like the environment seems nice, but I was really happy when their home got burned down. I was like, good, fuck you. So. Yeah,
I remember the first time I watched this, I thought it would be a really interesting take because they place so much importance on the family having powers and whatnot, and I thought maybe like the lesson learned at the end is that yes, you know, they don't need the magic to be a strong family, and they can rebuild their home and just be like a normal non-magic family, and they're all on the same playing field.
But why would you do that? If you have magic powers, why would you build your home with brick and mortar? Why don't you just fucking use your magic to do it? Why?
Because they lose their magic, don't they? Kept talking about like the magic of the family is like fading and whatnot.
The whole idea of the story, like why? Imagine Harry Potter lost his powers. Everyone would be like, why?
It's true.
Like, we don't want that.
But I think
we don't want this movie. We don't want it to exist.
I think you're angrier at this film than I am. I'm just like, I don't really care for it. You're like, I hate this movie.
It hurts me. It really does.
Mm-hmm. I think that choreography thing though was interesting because I didn't even think about that it feels almost like a live action musical in animated form in a way. Because usually in older films it says the story was already in place, and then they bring like a choreographer in to consult on specific scenes, but these were present. The choreographers were present all the way throughout the whole project, with the production team developing the songs, even the characters and the story, believe it or not, through like their movements and whatnot. So it's a very different approach, and maybe that does kind of permeate through.
Why are they reinventing the wheel then? Why are we going for a different approach? We knew what we had and it worked. Stop it. That's why the movie's shit.
Interestingly enough, though, and I don't know if this is a slight against the movie because I mean I don't have this information, but maybe this is true of some of the other Disney films that we've really enjoyed. Apparently, the script for this wasn't finished until the August of 2021. And it
And
was
when did it
released
come
in
out?
was released in November of that same year.
It fucking shows. They didn't review it. They didn't. They looked at it and they just went, "Yeah, fuck it, we'll get it out." And the thing about it is, it's just it's a boring movie. That's the thing. There's not a lot of personality to the characters, and when there is, they're whiny and they're like, "Oh, fucking shut up, we get it." You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not a good movie. 1 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, well, I don't agree with everything Carl says here, but I agree with the first part. He says Encanto is a strange one. Found it really forgettable when it first came out, but it's growing on me. My review of
Do you
this
know
film,
what?
if I
Do you know
go
what else? Do you know what grew on my uncle? A fucking tumor, and he died. All right. So things growing on you ain't always a good thing. And I am not going to watch this again. I'm not going to give it time forever. So.
I agree with the first part of your comment there, though, Carl, where you say it's a strange one, because there are things about this film that I do enjoy. There are themes to the story that I think its heart is in the right place, and I actually think are really quite interesting and mature themes. The whole thing of like the family dynamic and sort of you've kind of got the blueprint there for a good protagonist, where she's kind of like the black sheep of the family. She's left out, and we've seen that kind of archetype for a Disney character before. I like the element of forgiveness and the whole theme about the doorknob to these doors, and how every other family member's had a magical door, and by the end of it, that theme of the doorknob and opening that door to their actual house, and Mirabelle is the thing that brings the family together. There's some good stuff there. There's some good thematic family stuff in there. But yeah,
you know what is a good Disney movie with the doorknob? Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, yeah, and it's a talking one as well.
There you go. See, they should have added that.
And it's got some ingredients in there that could, do harken back to the style and feel of other Disney films. You've got the enchanted house with household appliances moving around. It's very Beauty and the Beast, especially at the beginning, with like the shutters on the windows and whatnot, and the cutlery and everything. I like all of that stuff, where I think, so inherently, like, I don't mind the story. I think it's a strong story. However, I don't think it justifies the runtime. I don't think it really holds your attention or excitement for a runtime of a film such as this. I think it could be like a good short film or something like that, but there isn't enough narrative thrust for me or intrigue to keep me hooked, I don't think.
It's kind of like Wicked did that, didn't it? Like, Wicked was like almost 3 hours. It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. And like, I mean, again, I don't love musicals, so I'm not the best person to review Wicked. Aside from Ariana Grande being there, I could review that all day. But aside from that, like, it was a long runtime, and it felt very long for like the kind of movie it was. And it's the same with this. It's like you said, it's a long runtime, and for the movie it was, it doesn't feel warranted. Yeah. It's like, did you ever see Freddy Got Fingered?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. This is a good comparison here. But no, like, that was like an hour and a half, like your general sort of hour and a half movie, whatever. Now that was a great. I really like that film. I've seen it about 3 or 4 times. I think it's it's just brilliant.
Daddy, would you like some sausages?
Yeah,
Daddy,
it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But like, if it was 2.5 hours, it would have dragged. It would have been like, all right, we get it now. Like, and that's what this movie kind of felt like, in the sense of like, you've got to look at a story and, have it warrant the runtime as well. The kind of like the way the movie is. I mean, one movie, because we spoke about it on I think it was a Star Wars stream that we did, Planet of the Apes, which I watched today, which I told you about.
The original. Yeah.
And that was just under 2 hours, and everything in it felt like it was just the perfect runtime. Everything, went well. And I was surprised it was under 2 hours, because the kind of movie it was, I thought, okay. So, but the point is that you see those kind of movies and you kind of think this is how long it's meant to be. When you see a Disney movie, you think your hour and a half thing, you might think, or maybe this one's going to rock up an hour and 10, or you'll see, like, for instance, like if a Harry Potter movie was an hour and 15, you'd be like, like, you know what I mean? You'd be like, there's a lot more in there. Or a Lord of the Rings movie that was, just under 2 hours, you'd be like, but that doesn't make sense. Like, there's a lot to cover. And this just feels like, with the music as well, everything felt sort of out of place, and it was trying to do things that, like, yeah, but this doesn't tally up with the movie we've got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally get it. We've got bath time here. I'm going to go through Tom's comments real quick. He says, I've never seen this, but I'm an enormous fan of both 100 Years of Solitude and the Bruno song. We will get onto music a little bit later, but you mentioned, well, unless your opinion's changed, that might be your favorite song from the film, but stay tuned because Dale's opinion may have changed. Bath time says, I assume this is some version of magical realism, Colombian storytelling tradition that Disney has commodified. Pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much bang on the dot. Here we go. So I guess anyone that hasn't seen Planet of the Apes, click off now because we're going to be talking about Planet of the Apes rather than Encanto. What would you rate the twist in the original Planet of the Apes?
Do you know what's weird? I saw it coming though. That's the thing. It wasn't. To me, it didn't feel like a big kind of like, oh, that's really cool. So it's a good. No, I think the twist is great. I do like the twist, but I did see it coming because from the beginning when they got there and I was like, and you know, they spoke English. I was like, it's really convenient, isn't it, that you're 320 light years away and they speak English, and then everything was in reverse. So I was like, it just seems a bit like I just had this image in my head of like, well, what if this is still Earth? You know what I mean? I was like, and just everything started leading that way. So when I saw it, I went, do you know what I mean? So it wasn't like a bombshell of, oh, that's so cool. But I thought the twist was good. And I think for the time it came out, I think it's a fantastic movie. The pacing's great. Everything's great. And I think what I love about it as well, because you know my views on sequels and all that kind of stuff, I love how we find out and that's where it kind of ends. It's a very sort of like, now you see it and you don't like, because there was a lot of me going, yeah, but why did this happen? Why did this happen? But at the same time, it's like, does it matter? It's just a movie of like, that's really cool. And that's kind of it. So I thought it was handled very well.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if it was, I actually haven't read into much about the film or the concept of it. I don't know if it's based on a book, or if it was an original idea, or it was based on a book. I'm not sure when that book was written, so I don't know if it's kind of like an ode to nuclear warfare and where it could lead to. Yeah. Now you hadn't seen the film before, no. And I think we talked about the twist maybe on a few, as you mentioned, like on a few streams ago.
Yeah, like there is one, but I didn't know what it was.
You said you saw the ending coming. Now, is that because in somewhere in your subconscious you've seen other films replicate or parody or reference that ending? No, you just
it's weird because I hadn't. Well, I mean, I have. Like, I've seen obviously a lot of references.
I think they do it in Madagascar, don't they? I think Alex the lion on the beach is like, "You blew it up, damn you!"
I don't know to be fair, but I saw it coming just because I think it was a very like just everything the way it was leading up to it. I think it was handled very well, and also I think feelings might have differed if maybe I'd seen it. Like, say I saw it when I was a kid. It probably would have been a big like, oh, that's really cool. But now I'm older. We'll leave it at that. I'm a bit older. You know, I've seen so many movies. I've played so many video games. Seen so many twists. Instantly in my head, I'm like, yeah, but this could be the thing. So I also think it's one of them. Depends when you watch it in your lifetime. But I think it was handled very well. When you see the doll and it's like the doll talks and like, why would an ape make a doll that talks? And it's like, and just everything led up to it very well. And by the time you hit it, it wasn't some big drop of like, I didn't see that coming. To me, it just led up to it very, very well. I was like, yeah, I knew it. And it felt satisfactory of like, got it. I knew it. I knew it was that. Mm-hmm. I knew that was the thing. But I didn't expect it to be a Statue of Liberty. But then again, it's American and so it's going to be. What else are they going to choose?
It's a striking image, isn't it? You know,
they should have done the Eiffel Tower, considering it's a French novel.
In the book, is it a similar ending? Do they have the Statue of Liberty?
I don't know what the book ending is, but I know it's a little bit different, and they kind of tied it up in the movie differently to make it work as a movie. But I thought it was great. I thought the pacing was one of the best I'd seen in a movie for a long time, especially one where where he breaks out and it's kind of not pointless, but almost kind of like if that didn't happen, it could have been handled a bit differently and could have still worked as a movie. It wasn't some big glaring needed to happen. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And it still was paced so well because I've seen so many movies do that where you look and you go, did that need to happen though? Like we could have just not had that happen, but it didn't feel like that because it was handled so well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it was one of the better movies I've seen in a long time.
Bath Time says, yeah, the execution of the twist is excellent. It's shown, not told.
Yeah.
And then Carl says, just don't watch the Tim Burton version. That twist is awful.
I watched clips of it. I watched small clips of it, and the female talks. Why the fuck does she talk? Like, I was like, what the hell is it? Nah. And Marky Mark was in it, and I was like, nah, we're going to stop this.
It's a weird casting choice. However, the makeup effects in that film are insane. Like Tim Roth as the villain. Well, just all the makeup effects. Helena Bonham Carter, you know, the main cast they've got as the Apes, I thought was fantastic. And I do kind of miss the whole people in costumes as the apes, but I guess I have got used to the Andy Serkis like CGI versions now. The updated trilogy, I actually haven't seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, so I can't vouch for that one. But the first three are actually a really, really good remake, I think.
I'm not. I don't know, because I really like the original. I'm like, I'm not going to do that to myself. It's like, I'm never going to watch this movie again either.
Bath Time says the Lincoln statue is a monkey. Is that right? Yeah, that's the end of the Tim Burton one. Yeah,
it's I'm not going to do that to myself.
And then Carl says definitely need a review of Freddy Got Fingered. Great movie.
It is. I've seen it so many times. It's great. I could review every line in that.
They're jewels, Betty. They're jewels.
I just remember the amazing, like, when he holds the like animal fur over him. I'm like, people would do that though. He's not wrong. I was like, give the guy a break. He's not wrong.
Maybe we'll get to that. Just bringing it back to Encanto strategically.
Another movie. I say never go back to. Not that I wouldn't go back to. I wouldn't go to the remakes, but this I would never go back to. It's not a movie I would.
As I say, I do like a lot of the themes in there, and I think maybe that's where we're getting that feel of. Not to say that Disney films, Disney animated classics, can't have touching, thought-provoking moments, mature moments. But the moment, like the flashback sequences in this, the oh God, what's the song called? Las Oranguitas moment, I'm absolutely butchering that pronunciation, felt very Pixar. Felt like, you know, like the emotional intro to Up, or it felt like something from Coco, or Pixar when they're at their best seem to do that kind of thing. So I can completely understand how you mentioned it didn't really feel like a Disney movie. Now, the tropes that do make it feel like a Disney movie, yeah, you have the enchanted castle trope, you have the enchanted house, you have this main character who feels out of place in this crazy humdrum life that she's in. All of those tropes. You've got songs. We'll get onto the songs in just a second because I'm not a fan. I've harped on this loads over the last few Disney films, and I'll probably harp on it even more when we get to the next few ones that we need to review. What has happened to the absence of proper Disney villains?
I know.
Can we just have a proper fucking villain? Now, I agree with you when you said that not every Disney film needs one. It doesn't always need to fit the mold.
This one didn't have any.
And but they had the setup for one, though. That's the thing. You have Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. Bad shit happened with Bruno. He's this sort of Nostradamus kind of character. He has evil prophecies, and he like doomed the house, and he's elemental. He can control rats that do his bidding or something. And he's a cool look to the character, sort of like this trickster-like character. And I really like that. And I thought, great, let's go. We don't talk about Bruno. The song could have, in an unofficial way, almost been the villain song, but not actually sung by the villain, but about the villain. And then we get it, and then we have this big build up to Bruno, and he's just some kooky guy who lives behind the wall and doesn't have a lot of agency in the story. And it just really let the drag shoot out for me. And as I say, I know you don't always need to have a Disney villain, but it is a trope. It is, part of the formula almost, the fairy tale formula. Mother Gothel, I swear, no,
because we have
had other Disney villains since then. But
Princess
if you talk,
Frog, what's his name?
Dr. Facilier.
Yeah, I'd say only because he's one of my favorite.
Yeah, but after that, you had Mother Gothel, who is a Disney villain all the way through.
After shit, yeah. Okay.
But then after that, we have had a couple of Disney villains, but it's always like the switcheroo in the very final act, or you have Hans from Frozen, who ain't gonna go down in the annals of history of one of Disney's best villains ever. Zootopia, you have what's the name, a Bellwether or whatever, the sheep character who's revealed literally at the very end. And that trope's really old to me, how you don't have any time establishing a villain all the way through, and it's just this little gotcha twist at the end. And sometimes that can work, but it feels like it's a trope that's played out now. I just want a good, strong Disney villain, and that can be an ingredient to make a film memorable to me, is when you've got a great villain. You've got the songs all punctuated through it. I really think that might have helped the story a little bit, because the second act of this film just drags. I like the initial concept, I like the exposition and where we begin the story.
Do you know what else drags? The fucking first song. That's long.
Yes, let's talk about the music then real quick. So
Well, the
we
thing
have
is, starting with that song was such a poor decision, because instantly I was there watching it and zoning out, being like, cool, just let me know when this is over. And then it kind of ends and it goes back into the song. I'm like, fucking stop it.
Yeah, all the songs in this really overstay their welcome, especially that one. So Lin-Manuel Miranda did the music. Everyone seems to lose their shit over him. I ain't going to go so far as to call the guy overrated, because writing music is incredibly difficult. And if you can write music that has such an impact with people, then, you know, you must be doing
John
something
Williams
right,
did that.
I guess. Still doing that. He's still
John
doing
Williams
that.
does good music.
He does. Stop mentioning his name, please, just in case something bad happens. Please stop mentioning his name.
I give him till the end of the year.
But I absolutely detest the music in this film. Yeah, so that first song, The Family Madrigal, it feels like it's just the same tune over and over again. Welcome to the Family Madrigal. We're here in the Family Madrigal. Here's my Family Madrigal. I'm just like, and yeah, and then it ends, and then it segues back into it. I'm like, no, just fucking stop. And this that song exemplifies what I think is another problem with this. I think it was one of the directors or maybe one of the screenwriters for this, whoever came up with the story, themselves came from a large extended family from Colombia, and they wanted to bring that element into the story and have a family set with this huge, you know, massive extended family living under one roof. I think that really lets the film down. I think there's absolute character bloat in this film. And because of that, you kind of remember some of the powers they have, but you don't actually remember the characters. They're just, oh, that's the person who can hear really well. Oh, that's the mom who cooks food that heals people. You remember the powers they have, but not actually the characters. And I think that they could have really benefited from cutting this cast down. I actually haven't added up how many characters there are in this family, but there's a lot. And I think that doesn't help the fact that this song goes on for fucking ages. That was actually Lin-Manuel Miranda's sort of proof that you can have a large cast and you can have a song that introduces everyone and their emotional states and where their minds are kind of at the beginning of this film. I disagree. I think there's way too many, and I think it bogs the film down a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of pointless characters, a lot of unmemorable characters, but then the main characters feel so unmemorable as well. Like the grandma, what was her name?
Abuita, wasn't it? What's her name?
Hang
On, hold that thought. I'm having a look. Abuela, isn't it?
Abuela, her fucking, again, pointless character, shit character.
I won't say she's pointless, because the conflict between her and Mirabelle is kind of the main crux of the ending. But
maybe not pointless in that sense, but pointless in the sense of, like, she could have been anyone else. She didn't have to be the way she was. That kind of pointless. Like, you know, when you watch a movie and you're like, when you see a character, like, maybe they're part of the plot, but you're like, but that could have been played by anyone else. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. It felt like she was dead. She was, you know, just to me, just felt kind of like, great, cool. She didn't have a personality, you know?
Yeah, the main emotional sort of strife within the movie, where the film boils down to, is that the family is breaking apart. The magic, you know, there's literally fractures in the walls of the family home, to sort of make it a metaphor. And the whole thing comes to a head where Mirabelle has the confrontation with Abuela, which has sort of like been building and gestating over years and years and years. And they finally sort of get it all out in the open that Mirabelle doesn't like that she's been kind of ostracized by the family because she hasn't had any magical powers and she's kind of left out of everything. And she kind of chides the grandmother for putting too much pressure on the family. So they each have a magical power, which the grandmother says, we use this for the good of the community, and the community love them, and they come around for lavish parties and for the it's almost like the naming ceremony, isn't it? When a child of the family reaches the age of 5, they get their own magical door and they get their own magical power, and the whole village, is in attendance. They all love it.
Do you know what
And
they should have done?
yeah,
They should have, everyone that had that and they got their own magical power, they should have like scarred them across their face and made them a slave. And then everyone with a giant gash across their face, they know to be an enslaved magical person that they use for their own means. That's what they should have done.
Sure, why not? Let's go with
and
that.
It would have been a better movie. It would have been a much better movie that way.
But yeah, so they kind of criticize the grandmother, and really, in a way, there isn't a villain in this film until the very end, where it's almost like they act like the grandmother, Abuela, the 75-year-old matriarch of the family, who literally raised all of these children single-handed, pretty much after her husband was killed in what I'm guessing was some kind of revolution. I know it's the time that this is meant to be set in is kind of ambiguous, but I think when you see stuff like that, the historical respect, I think it's probably in like the early 1900s or something. She raised this family and everything. For putting too much pressure on the family to help people in the community. So what my takeaway from this is at the end of this is that helping people in the community and using your magical gifts for good is a bad thing, because you're putting too much pressure on us, and we want to take a break on helping people out sometimes. One of the daughters is kind of not in an arranged marriage, but the grandmother's like, this will be a good match for you and a good match for the family. Kind of traditional way of looking at marriage and weddings. That's kind of what women did for the family. You'd either marry into money or you'd marry into a good family to help the family bond, essentially. And as far as I'm aware, I might need to watch it again at some point. I don't think the daughter shows any disdain towards this or any kind of resentment towards this until the very end, where we're vilifying the grandma and she's like, oh yeah, I don't want to marry this guy at all. I never wanted to. You have the older sister of the family who feels very put upon, sort of the rock of the family, where all of the burdens of the family and also the community that she's helping, she's tired of helping the community. So my takeaway from this is that, don't do what's right by your family. Don't help people in your community, and criticize and put all your blame on a 75-year-old matriarch in your family who's literally raised single-handedly the entire family to be respected in this life. So also don't have respect for your elders, basically. What's great fucking morals in this modern day Disney movie? Maybe I'm reading that in a completely different way, and I'm not reading it in the way that they want me to read into that, but all of the characters just feel really fucking obnoxious and self-obsessed by the end of this thing, and I'm kind of over it.
Yep, obnoxious, self-obsessed. That's what every character is.
Narcissistic, let's throw that word in there. Why not?
Yeah, it just, everything felt, it just, you can really see, like when you said the screenplay was written, like what, less than a year before it was released?
A couple of months it was finished, but again, I don't know the circumstances. Maybe some of our other favorite Disney films were right down to the wire as well with the script, so that could be a thing. But it's worth.
Well, they had better writers, didn't they? Like, it's just like, write a better movie. It's like, bands that don't like, there was an interview I read with someone that was like, oh, we're not going to release an album, we're going to release singles, because when you release an album, there's probably like 4 or 5 songs you actually like and take away from it. So we'll fucking write better songs then. Mm-hmm. And put the better ones on the album. It's like that. It's like, it's just, there's a lot wrong with it. And music-wise, like, it all just drags on. The thing is, all the music to me blends. It all blends into one, really. It's all very, to me, just kind of like there. The reason I would say Bruno is like, the one that stands out for me is because I saw so many parodies of it when it came out. I never watched the movie when it came out, but I saw so many parodies of it. And I was like, what is this song? And I was like, oh, it came from that new Disney movie. So I was like, all right, that's why it's been parodied. And I saw it a lot, and I thought it was all right. So that's the one song I actually take away from it. And the one at the end's all right. But aside from that, it's a very... And who's the butch lesbian trans sister person?
Oh God, it's Louisa, isn't it? Louisa Madrigal.
Louisa. Yeah, Louis. Let's call it Louis. It's again. What was the point in that character?
She's just like the rock of the family, I guess, the one who feels put upon.
Yeah, cool.
She gets one of the worst fucking songs in the film, though. My God, just talking about the music
And
real
she
quick.
looks like Miss Trunchbull.
But she's not as fun as Miss Trunchbull, though. Miss Trunchbull's got personality.
She
Pam
looks like
Ferris
Miss
is great.
Trunchbull, voiced by Patrick Starr. It's weird. It's like the weirdest thing ever. It's like, have you ever seen like those cartoons where there must have been like, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but those cartoons where they're like there's aliens in it and they're like the complete opposite to what you'd expect someone. Like you'd have like this like when they're kids they're really tall, when they're adults they're really small, or what, like, you know, you get what I mean, that kind of trope of like you see aliens and they're like the opposite of what you'd expect them to be and stuff. And that character felt like one of them, just like a weird alien that didn't make sense. Like why is it there?
Yeah. Let's like segue back to the music then, because we've already expressed our disdain for the music, but that is probably the low point of the film for me, is that song. And there's a lot of songs I really actively fucking despise in this film, but that Surface Pressure actually turns out to be one of the second most popular song in this whole thing. We Don't Talk About Bruno is probably the main one. Surface Pressure was actually the second one. And there's just no musical cohesion in this film at all. And I think I said the same for Frozen or Frozen 2, how, you know, you look at other films like Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas or something like that, even Hercules. Hercules is a weird example, but it shows musical cohesion all the way through. They went for their kind of like gospel Motown style to the music, and they fucking stuck with that as a theme, and all the music feels kind of included in that. This one's all over the place. You do have some of the like Colombian influences in some of the music, like of course Dos Oruguitos, and We Don't Talk About Bruno. You've got elements in there, sort of like the Latin style.
Shit during that song though.
But then you hit Surface Pressure, and it's like this modern pop top 40s charts bullshit. Like what's the lyrics like? I move mountains, I watch them crumble. I'm just like,
do you know who she reminds me of? Did you ever watch Powerpuff Girls as a kid? You know,
a little bit.
Yeah, right. So there was, and I remember this, and this has just come out in my head now. So there's an episode where they they try to create like a fourth like sister or whatever for them, and they put all these like they put the chemicals in and do their kind of thing, and she becomes this like cross-eyed, weird, gigantic, fucking purple girl that's like, duh, and she fucking like hits it. That's what that character reminds me of. I knew she reminded me of someone. It reminds me of the fucking retarded Powerpuff Girl. That's it. Fucking weird. Because she lifts up stuff that I can lift rocks. Good for you. Go sit in the corner. We'll give you a dummy. Like that's what that character feels like.
So Bath, I've never actually heard of this until now, but I've just kind of been having a look at this in the background. Bath Time says, have you read 100 Years of Solitude? This sounds like the nearest you can rip it off without lawyers getting stuck in. So a quick Wikipedia search, because I actually hadn't heard about this until now. Tell me if this sounds pretty similar. It tells the multi-generational story of the Buendia family. By the way, this is also written by a Colombian author. The Buendia family, whose patriarch, Jose, founded the fictitious town of Macondo. The novel is often cited as one of the supreme achievements in world literature. I'm just trying to find another bit here. And I think there's like a magical element, if I remember. Buendia exemplifies this through each successive generation as both town and its inhabitants become increasingly caught in a vicious cycle that erodes both structural and moral authority from the inside. I mean, I probably, if I read the book and I had more context, there's probably even more comparisons than that. But just that on the outside, yeah, it does seem very, very similar. Especially because there's a lot of story. This film went through a lot of changes in its plot, and they abandoned a lot of different ideas, which would have completely changed the shape and trajectory of the actual film. Before we move on to that, though, and the abandoned story ideas, if you had to pick a favorite song from this, Bruno. Do you have one? We Don't Talk About Bruno?
Yeah, because like I said, I heard all the parodies everywhere. And it might be a case of, you know, when you hear something so much, it kind of grows on you in a way. It might be that, but it also, I didn't remember disliking it from the beginning. I thought this is kind of cool. What's this? Where did it come from? So I don't mind that song, but it's so much better as a song than in the movie. In the movie, and they're all doing these weird camera angles where they're like this, and they're like, the head's like right in the camera. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? It's weird. And I just find the whole choreography of it shit, but as a song, it's a better song.
Well, you mentioned that too. So it's interesting how you're picking up all this stuff in the cinematography, because it says here, Encanto is the first Disney animated feature film since Tangled from 2010 to employ a tall frame, a decision to, quote, get closer to the characters.
Yeah, but they did it all badly.
Yeah.
Like, you can do things. It's like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it was all done badly. That's how this movie felt. And I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who love it, and I'm sure there's a lot of ways where they go, this looks really cool. But I just think it was just done poorly. It's just, yeah.
Favorite song for me would probably be Dos Oruguitos. I think
the one right at the end?
Not the credits. Well, it's used in the film. It's the Spanish version, and then you get the English version in the credits. But either or, both the English version or the Spanish version, I really like.
I have a question. If the Spanish version's in the film, why do we have an English version in the credits?
I know. Yeah, I don't know.
So, like, again, this is just a question for Disney, really. If they're a company that's all about inclusivity and stuff, if you've got a Spanish song, we don't need an English version, then, do we? I feel like they're the ones pushing the agenda that we need white people, not us. But that's just me. Because if it was me, I'd been like, well, the song's already in it. We don't need an English version. It's a Spanish song. Leave it alone. Do Rammstein release English versions of all their songs? No.
But I think it's a good scene where it just lets the visuals play out, and that's the comparison to Pixar that I'd have, like the opening of Up, where you're just watching images and all the images speak for themselves, and you got the wonderful Michael Giacchino music behind it. So I thought that was an effective scene. If I actually cared about the characters, and I find that I don't know if it was like the voice acting, because you mentioned you actually really like the voice acting.
Yeah, I thought
the
voice acting was all right. I think the people that played it well. I think the voices went well with the characters. I did think the voice acting was all right, to be fair.
It might be how the songs are written then, because honestly, the Family Madrigal, if I didn't have subtitles on for that song, there's the music's kind of, maybe it's like the audio mixing on my DVD, it could be the TV, it could be, you know, a number of things. It seemed like the music was drowning out the lyrics, and the lyrics are moving a million miles a second, and she's introducing this person name, you know, this person name, you know, Colombian name, and the lyrics are moving a mile a minute, and the music's drowning out. I couldn't tell a fucking word she was singing half the time in a lot of the songs, especially in that opening song there.
Yeah, the opening song,
which isn't ideal when that song is introducing you to about 20 fucking characters. And again, you just kind of remember the powers more than anything, don't you? So yeah.
I don't remember anything about the movie, really don't.
If you got a magical door, what would you want your power to be?
Do I get any choice in this, though?
Yes. Yeah, for the sake of this anecdote, yeah, you get to choose what magical power you have. I don't know what magical power the magical door would pick for you, Dale. So yeah, of course it's got to be your decision. What do you want?
I know, but I'm just like, that's cool. I get any magical power. My magical power would be to create anything I wanted. So like, kind of the similar to, because you know, what is it like? She does like the flower thing, doesn't she? What does she do with the flowers?
Well, she just conjures flowers, doesn't she?
Yeah, kind of thing. But just to create anything I want. Like if I wanted to just suddenly like, oh, I plants are on my brain now just because that flower thing. But if I wanted a plant in my, like in, you know, in the corner of my living room, just go and I could just put it there. Or, you know, like, let's just say, oh, do you know what? I'm actually bored of my car. I want a new car. And then just go boom. And like, that's what I would do. Just to put anything I want anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a cool power.
Yeah.
I could get rid of so many people. I don't like you. I'm replacing you with a pig. That would be great.
I think I'd have the power to create illusions and kind of live in those illusions. It's like, hey, I want to be like playing guitar alongside Eddie Van Halen on stage. Yeah. Boom. And I'm there and I'm doing it. And I'm like the best guitarist ever or whatnot. I think I'd do that.
See, I thought of that. But if you can just conjure anything, you could just conjure him there and be like, there you go. Let's just jam and make it really. See, it's, yeah. Oh, no, my door would be, I'll go through the door and never come back. There you go. That's it. I'm gone. That would be my door.
Escape to fucking
Narnia. I'd go into a door where Encanto doesn't exist.
Brian Emery says this is a good movie.
I was waiting for Brian Emery.
Brian, you're usually the first one in, man. But I don't think this would be a good world for Kingdom Hearts. I will say that.
Because what I was going to say is, going back to Disney villains, is remember in the first game, they had Captain Hook and Jafar and everyone. They were all around a table and they were all just going laughing and doing all that kind of shit. Who would you choose now? Who would be around that table?
I could see Encanto being, like Merlin's house in Kingdom Hearts 1, how you use it as kind of like a little hub, and you've got like the Winnie the Pooh book in there. I could imagine the Encanto house being that hub, maybe. But then you'd have to move it but it would have to be its own world. Of course it would, wouldn't it? You couldn't have that be part of like Traverse Town, because that wouldn't make sense.
I would prefer Raya and the Last Dragon to be a world. But we said this before, didn't we? Because Moana would be a good world, and because they're the same. I think Sisu, isn't it? Sisu's the dragon. Yeah.
Sisu would be a good summon.
Yeah, it'd be better like that. But I prefer Raya and the Last Dragon a lot to this movie.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Definitely on a rewatch. And I don't even. I find that movie really just sort of. I've watched it, and I'm kind of already forgetting a lot about it now. But I would rather watch. Yeah, I would rather watch Raya. At least it's sort of like the plot held me a lot more than this one did, even though I do have some shortcomings with that one too. Bath Time says, from the stuff I've seen from Encanto, is there a really fit daughter called something like Remedios, who's well known for being the town's most beautiful woman? Yes.
Yes, there is. But do you know the other thing? Doesn't she also have a beauty mark underneath her eye?
I don't know. I wasn't looking that closely.
I feel like she did. But the thing is, she is attractive, but at the same time, I'm like, is it just because everyone else is unattractive? Like, when you see a group of girls and then you're just like, she looks attractive because all the others are really, really ugly. It's that kind of thing. You hang around the ugly ones so you look more attractive. That might also be the case. So I don't know.
That's very true.
But I think she was all right. You wouldn't kick her out of bed.
Bath Time says his power would be, I'd like to be able to eat whatever I wanted and not put on weight. I second you there, mate. I just have to look at a slice of pizza and I put on about 2 stones. So.
That would be good. Imagine being able to, like, you're not having to eat as well. Like, you can and you like to eat, but you don't have to survive. That would be great as well, because then you could at least, even if for a week you'd be like, I don't want to go out and spend money on food. You can. Mm-hmm. That would be a good thing.
Bringing it back to like a moment from Encanto, I wanted to know if you thought of this too. And I feel like this was a massive missed opportunity, but maybe I'm also kind of glad that they didn't go this route with it, because it would be tarnishing one of my favorite Disney films. During that awful song from the muscular sister, I've already forgotten what the song's called now, but she has a line that refers to Hercules fighting Cerberus. And I was like, why didn't they use the likeness from Disney's Hercules and the likeness of Cerberus from that? That could have been a nice little Disney reference within the movie.
What they should have done, because I don't think there was any references. Like, when we had like Scar in Hercules, like his pelt and stuff, there wasn't really anything in this, was there?
There was a Let It Go reference.
Yeah,
when like Let It Go, and did like conjured snow, I think.
Yeah, but there wasn't a because sometimes we'll have like I'm trying to think, which one was the one that had Little Mermaid in it? Like they had like Flounder or something. I don't know.
That was Aladdin. That was Aladdin. The genie pulls out Sebastian the Crab, and then Moana referred to Sebastian the Crab as well in the post-credits.
Yeah, I think just a visual kind of thing. Maybe when they did that, just to have like a small like Hercules just run past and do something really, you'd be like, that's kind of cool. Like that would have worked, and I think that would have been fun, because it would have been a kind of but they didn't do that because they didn't do many things right with this movie.
And that's why I'm torn on it, because I think it's a Disney movie referring to Hercules fighting Cerberus, which, we have a design for Hercules. And of course, they would have CGI'd him up and whatnot. But then part of me is like, maybe I'm glad that they didn't use that, because then Hercules would be in.
It's not a Disney movie. It's the end of an era. We lost it. Raya and the Last Dragon ended it.
I think that there's a lot of good things that I like about this movie in terms of the themes that it's dealing with. However, I feel like it kind of butchers it in the ending, where it tries to flip it all around on the poor old grandma character. Maybe I'm having quite a controversial read on that. Maybe, I think, like respect for your elders and stuff. And I think she was just looking out for the family.
I think in terms of themes, I think Teletubbies deals with better themes than this. I just, like, I get what you mean. I really do. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to see past it because it's executed really poorly.
There's not enough to sustain it, I don't think, to keep you hooked for the runtime. And they try and they jangle keys in front of you with the loud, obnoxious songs, and as you said, like getting into the camera and whatnot. There's one song in this that you did watch the live action Aladdin, didn't you, from like 2019?
I watched half of it. with an ex-girlfriend, and the whole time I said, "This is stupid." Every little thing that happened, so she switched it off and went, "I can't enjoy it if you hear." I'm like, "Good."
Okay, maybe you didn't get to this bit then, but there's a moment where I think like Jafar's guards or the palace guards arresting Aladdin or something in the room, and then time kind of stops, and Jasmine has this whole elaborate song about her voice not being heard, or because she's a woman in this society and no one listens to her, and she wishes she could have a voice that everyone could hear, and she's kind of walking between all of the characters who are moving in super slow motion like it's a snapshot in time, exactly like this film, where it's where the kid gets his talking to animal powers, isn't it? And they all get in the frame for a family photo, and they leave Mirabelle out, and then time really slows down. Great animation, and like the environment and everything. It's probably one of the most visually spectacular parts. That part, I would say, where he's got this whole like animal world. But it really reminded me of that Aladdin movie. And when you're reminding me of that piece of shit live action Aladdin movie that I wish I could forget, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I never watched that movie. I watched half of it. I hated it.
Bath Time says, if you're right, that's a really strange thing to do in a child's cartoon. Most stories are about reconciling your place in the world alongside the responsibility of tradition and culture. Maybe once upon a time, Bath Time, but we're in the modern age now where we're doing away with tradition and doing away with culture, and we're living in a very narcissistic world.
Yeah, with the whole, lesbian kiss in Lightyear and good times.
Yeah, we're so inclusive, and we're going to be well, from what I've heard, next week we're going to be getting very, very inclusive with this movie. So next week we've got number 60, which is the Disney box office bomb, Strange World. Now, there's a few things that could have contributed to this being a box office bomb. One is the whole COVID-19 thing. I think there was still a fallout after that. I don't know if we'd gone back into lockdown at this point, but it was released on Disney Plus very, very quickly. This film was done on a budget of 180 mil, and it only got 73 mil. And obviously, you've got to also consider marketing. But to be fair, I don't think this one was marketed all that well. I think there's probably a lot of contributing factors into this one. But I know that this film does have its first openly LGBTQ. I'm probably forgetting some, so apologies if I'm forgetting some, in a lead role in the film. So we made it, folks. Number 60, Strange World. I haven't seen it. I am going to go into it with an open mind because I've heard nothing but negative things. Maybe it could be all right.
There's nothing wrong with a gay character or anything, but when it's shoved down your throat, there is like Dragon Age with the whole like, I'm non-binary. It's like, did anyone ask? No.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of thing. And I will be interested to see how this plays out because, we say it's the first openly gay character. If it is just a sense of, it's not shoved down your throat and then just one thing happens and like,
there's a character in Encanto, right? During the opening song, they say that one member of the family married a guy and had a relationship, and it's like one line in the song, and I'm like, okay, noted, but it's not like a big thing. If they make a big deal of it, then I agree. That's
the thing. I don't like it. Just it doesn't make sense. Like, because at what point do you shove any straight sexuality down someone's throat in a kids movie? Where does that happen? And it's annoying because then you get the LGBTQ bollocks people go, oh yeah, all the time. It's like, no, just because they're not the same as you, like, just sit down, shut up, and just be different. If that's what you want, if you are different, cool, just accept it. Look, there's a character like you, good for you, move on. Like, that's it. Like, right, it really annoys me.
But they seem to be a character, and it's just what that character represents, the identity of that character. They don't give a shit what the character's motivations are, struggles, or anything like that, or relationships within the film. It's just, oh, that character said he was gay. Oh, that character said they were LGBT. And it becomes about that as an identity rather than the actual character themselves. When it gets to that point, that's where it's a problem. That's sort of like my opinion on it. I don't mind if you have that element to the story, if it's worked into the story well. And as long as it's not shoved down your throat and it's like Disney going, look at this gay character we've got in there, and that's where it begins and ends. That's where it becomes a problem for me with story.
Exactly, but this is the way of the world now.
Carl says, "Is that a Kiss T-shirt, Dale?"
It is indeed. It's a really weirdly oversized Kiss T-shirt, which I've had for a while, but I didn't realize how big it is. It's huge. It's like an extra large. But yes, it is a Kiss T-shirt. It's great.
When are we getting that Kiss hologram? You know, like the ABBA
Never.
concert
I
thing in
fucking
London.
hope never. Never.
You say this, motherfucker. Me and you are going to be getting tickets to go and
Nah.
see that. You know we will.
Nah, because I've seen the real Kiss, and it's not a thing.
So have I. You've seen them twice.
Exactly.
Though. I really wish I'd have seen them that first time.
It doesn't exist. The hologram, it doesn't exist because it's like might as well just go on YouTube.
I still think we'll see them again. I don't think they've gone. This is their second final tour they've done. Remember, Motley Crue said they were going to do a final tour, and they never went away. They're still going.
The only thing about Motley Crue is they'll fizzle out, and it's like you had the chance to go out on a bang, and you did, and then you came back, and you'll just fizzle out. And
remember that contract that they all signed where they'd never perform together again?
Remember when they also there was a whole statement from them saying we just wanted to go out on a bang because we didn't want to be just three guys where one of us can't do it anymore. That's exactly what they are.
Yeah,
exactly what happened. The one thing they did to avoid doing what they're doing, they went back on, and it really fucking irritates me.
It's like the Dark Knight quote: "You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain." It's like, yeah.
Exactly, it's true, and I feel like I'm becoming the villain, and it's great.
Oh wow! Carl says Paul Stanley is already talking about touring again as he misses it. Isn't Gene still performing in his own band? I think he's still touring with his own stuff. I don't know.
Gene is just like a money-hungry Jew. That's literally Gene's.
I know, but he's great. Here's the thing: Kiss as a brand, they are the most. Yeah. Slap it on a lunchbox, get it on a bedspread, whatever. Totally business-minded, money. Kiss is a brand. We don't give a fuck about the music. And at least they're open and honest about it. And you know what? I'm like, fine. When I paid to see them Golden Circle, I was like, this is an outrageous amount of money for a ticket. 50 quid for a program. I'm like, this is outrageous. But part of me did just kind of go, that's Kiss, what do you expect? But since then, Guns N' Roses ticket have blown that out of the water. Guns N' Roses are now the most expensive band that I've ever paid a ticket for.
Yeah, for Kiss being, I so glad I didn't pay gold. When I first saw them, though, there was no Golden Circle. It was great. I was right at the front, and it was like normal price for a ticket. It was like 50 quid for a ticket. None of this bollocks of like 200 quid for,
Guns N' Roses, Golden Circle, 180. And believe it or not, that was cheaper than I thought they would be. Still the most expensive band that I've... I didn't see them because I refused to pay it, but Scorpions did a one London show, I think, was it earlier this year? I think it was earlier this year, maybe, or it could have been last year.
Now.
Love it first. Oh yeah, 20. I'm still getting used to that whole switcheroo in January. Yeah, 2024 Love at First Sting, where Extreme was supporting. It was like 300, 350, 400 quid for a seated ticket because it was a seated gig.
You know what's sad about that?
For Scorpions.
You know what's sad about that? That's a lot of money, but you still couldn't even get a PS5 Pro with that.
I know. Yeah, I know.
That's the sad reality.
Carl says, didn't they have a Kiss coffin on their website at one point?
They did.
I really hope that's true.
They did. That is a thing. Yes. Because I remember Gene Simmons when he advertised it, because they had Kiss condoms as well. And he said, Kiss will get you coming and going at the same time. And I was like, I like that. That's a good way to sell that.
Again, marketing genius. You got to love them. Yeah. You got to love them. So when they inevitably tour again and charge 300 quid for a ticket, like a one-time only Kiss return for one night only, we're going to pay. We're going to go. We'll be watching it.
They'll do one night only and everything.
We'll be watching the holograms. Yeah,
holograms. That's not.
We'll be watching the holograms. We will. It's the future.
Who was it that did a hologram? Did Dio do one?
I'm not sure about Dio. I know they did Celine Dion did a duet with Elvis Presley, and they had a hologram of him on stage, which actually looked really good. I think they've done a Whitney Houston hologram, but the main one that I know currently is the ABBA concert that's going on in London, which I'd actually be really curious to check out. I do like ABBA's music. I wouldn't rush to go and see an ABBA concert, but I do like their music. I'm more interested to see what this technology looks like and what the ramifications of it could be. I've heard rumors they might do a Michael Jackson one. It's going to be the future. It will be.
But you've seen iRobot, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like that.
I know. Let's just embrace it. I'm like, bring on AI. Let's go. Think of all the positives.
Yeah, as long as it's exciting.
Carl said, I totally agree with you, man. I'm being priced out. Most gigs now, everything is £150. Yeah, that is the new standard for
I'm so
gig
glad
tickets.
I've seen everyone I want to see, pretty much. Like, there's probably a couple, but pretty much. Like, there's no one I don't think there's anyone I care enough about to be like, oh, fuck, I've got to pay 200 quid. Like, it's like, well, I've seen a lot of them now.
I know inflation is a thing, but it felt like we just jumped overnight from like £85 for a gig ticket. Suddenly now we're paying 150. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, where was all these in between prices?
Yeah, I think the fact that Guns N' Roses cost me like 90 something quid was.
Well, that's doubled then. That's doubled since you saw them to now.
Yeah, but I was in a really shitty seat.
Oh, you
So
were like yeah.
Because the thing is, I like Guns N' Roses, but I refuse. I was like, I'm not paying over 100 quid. It's not happening. So I looked and I was like, there you go, 95 quid. I'll pay that. I am not paying over 100 quid. But like, Black Sabbath, I think, was 80, and everyone else has been like, I think Motley Crue's final tour was 40. I don't think that was like ridiculous. So yeah, we've jumped overnight to like stupid prices. No one's charging under 100 quid now to see them.
It's either 150 standard price or it's like 110. But by the time you've added on like the extra fees and transaction fees and whatnot, and insuring your ticket if you do that, yeah, it's clocking in at 150.
Ozzy Osbourne will be like, he'll do one show in Birmingham and it'll be 200 quid. I'll be like, but I had a ticket. It was 80 quid. Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, we held on to that ticket for about 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. And then it got taken away, and I was very upset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just they did the same. So I had tickets to see Michael Bolton last year. Like, at me, I don't care. I'm a huge Michael Bolton fan. I fucking love his music. I think he's great.
Is he dying?
No, he had a brain tumor, but I think he's in recovery, and that was why he's postponed his shows to this year. So fingers crossed that goes ahead. But yeah, he was crazy expensive as well, and I didn't even go for the most expensive option. So yeah, Carl says I saw Slipknot over Christmas, and that was 90. See, that's kind of
Slipknot over Christmas as well.
That's kind of what I'd expect from Slipknot, to be honest, because they are a big band. I'm not overly keen on them personally, but I'm aware that they're a huge band. That's more palatable, 90 quid for something like that.
Yeah, I think 90 quid's about, because Black Sabbath, like I say, they cost me 80. I think that's where like that works out, because now, I mean, when I saw Black Sabbath, when was that they did their last tour, their last show? Like, I
didn't see their final tour. I went to the one that they did just before that. It was like a year or two before they did their final tour.
It must have been what, 20? Was it before Motley Crue or after? After? No, it was after.
Yeah.
So it would have been 2016, let's say. So yeah, it would have been 2016, and that was 9 years ago now. Fun times.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost a decade ago. And that was 80 quid, and they're Black Sabbath. So yeah, that would check out 90 quid for Slipknot, who aren't Black Sabbath level in terms of inflation. That would check out, but everyone else is just getting stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what happened? The ground rent on their house go up, and they were like, "Fuck it, we need more mortgage." Like,
probably. I mean, I hate when you have two gigs go on sale at the same day. Like Guns N' Roses went on sale and pretty much cleaned me the fuck out, and then the day after, Judas Priest and Alice Cooper were doing tickets for London, and I was tempted to go to that, and I did bring up the tickets, and I think that was like 110, but I was like, you are seeing two headliner bands, like 55 quid each for bands of that caliber. It's probably not too bad, and they are great, but it was a seater gig, and most of the good seats had gone already, so I never picked any up for that one, but I know maybe things will change. Yeah. Right then, we'll probably round off. That was sort of our review on Encanto. It was sort of like Planet of the Apes gig talk, but I don't care. Anything that gets us talking about stuff that isn't Encanto is good. So
fucking shit movie.
We weren't particular fans of this one. I think there are some good elements. You hated it. I thought there were some all right elements to it, but
one of the worst Disney movies we've seen. I'd rather watch Saludos Amigos.
Yeah, it's shorter. It's 40 minutes.
They're in the same country, I think.
It's educational.
Yeah, I would rather watch Chicken Little. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. I'd put them on par.
Oh, I think I'd rather go with Encanto out of those two.
I don't know. I'd put them on par, really. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather have surgery and wake up during it. Now that's saying something.
I think we could just round it off there after that one. So, in the meantime, I think a lot of people are quite positive on this one, so they'll probably disagree with us if they've made it this far. Congratulations. Let us know your thoughts on Encanto. Do you love it? Do you hail it as one of Disney's best, or are you sort of more like us where we just really didn't care for it? Sure. Anything related to Disney or indeed this film, please do let us know. Subscribe to the channel as well, please. It'd be very nice for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. We will be continuing for, how many have we got left? We've got Strange World, 1, 2, 3, 4. So about another month and a half or so, and we'll be finished this retrospective, and we'll be looking for the next thing to talk about. We do have another retrospective planned for, I think it was June, which coincidentally is actually a big anniversary of another company as well, and we'll leave it at that.
Don't do Indiana Jones because we don't want to watch past 3 because nothing happened after that.
Agreed. I ain't watching those, so we'll think of something to talk about. We've got some ideas and some stuff we want to do. So yeah, and we've got a lot of other stuff planned for 2025 as well. Big thank you to everyone that's tuned in tonight, kept the conversation going. We love hearing from you, and yeah, it's always fun to chat on these live streams with you all. So have a very good evening, and I will be live again on Wednesday with JX Editor for the new exciting episode of Disney Star Wars Skeleton Crew. I think it's the penultimate episode 7 of 8. So we'll see what that is. And if you like your Disney stuff, tune in next week. We'll be talking about this. We haven't seen it, Strange World. See you then.
Yay!
Bye, guys.